It's the start of another day, and it's a very wet one, as you can see. We are now playing Deutz Fahrm with Seasons and on Gorale. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Deutz Fahrm, a relocated Deutz Fahrm. And we have upgraded our equipment to compensate for our relocation here a little bit as well. So, we asked the question, do you want Seasons on the relocation? And the overwhelming answer was yes. We ran the poll for a week, and the answer came back, 80% in favour of running Seasons on Gorale for Deutz Fahrm. So here we are with very, very miserable weather. You chose this, guys, not me. Right, we're running the Wales Geo, and the reason we're running that is because I did actually look at the sort of traditional kind of weather in Gorale online and looked it up, and it is a very sort of wet area of Poland. There's a lot of rainfall on a very annual basis. It just tends to fall quite a lot in those sort of early and late months in the year, and it's not the warmest place either, so it kind of made sense to go with something that was kind of realistic to the region. Plus, it's the Wales Geo. It's something a little bit different. We're already running two farms with this, with Seasons, one of which with the Midwest Geo, one with the standard vanilla Seasons weather. So it'd be nice to run something with something a little different. Hence, we're running the Wales Geo here. But let's show you the upgraded equipment that we have on this farm. So, obviously, straight away we have this additional piece of equipment here, the Lizard BD frame. There are no seed pallets or seed placeables or fertilizer placeables on this farm, so if we want to top up our seeders, top up our fertilizers, then we're going to be doing it with pallets, at least for the first year anyway. We may put placeables down next year, but this year we're going to be doing it with pallets. So that's what the BD frame is there for, to run those back and forth. We won't be messing around with logs or water with this, it'll just be a flat bed like that. In the workshop, I have added an actual working toolbox mod into the back here, so we can now drive vehicles in here and customize them, because again, there's no workshop point on this map at the farm. So now we actually have a proper one. These two bays are empty. This is essentially where I'm thinking of storing seed and fertilizer on the farm, but haven't quite decided that yet. Into this building here, and this is our fertilizing gear. So we have a Kuhn axis to replace the small fertilizer spreader that we had before, and we also have a weeder now as well. This is going to be used for crops, this is going to be used for grass fields. And then our Lenken Dolomite has been upgraded to a 4-meter Dolomite 9, and we now have a 4-meter power harrow cultivator to go with that as well, also from Lemken. So we're kind of keeping that Lemken kind of feel a little bit, but replacing with larger equipment, because we have a little bit larger fields to work. Around here we still have our Ursus bale trailer. We are still doing round bales, but we've upgraded our round baler from the small Kuhn baler we had before to the more powerful, shinier, prettier, more useful Kuhn round baler with wrapper. I do love this thing. We still have the same windrower and the same, obviously, Deutz Fahrm Condi Master, and just a single Deutz Fahrm mower as well. The eagle-eyed of you will have spotted in the opening video sequence that we do actually plan to run triple mowers in the future, all with the Deutz Fahrm mowers, as an experiment to see how that works, and hopefully that'll run quite nicely. Into here, and here is our seeders. Again, I might relocate these actually over to there and then put pallets in here. I haven't quite decided yet, but these are our two seeders. So we have the 6-meter Cockling Jockey. This is our regular grain seeder. This will do our wheat, our our barley, our canola, and our soybean. This is a direct drill, so it'll cultivate as it's seeding. And then we have a row crop seeder here, also from the Kuhn DLC. This will do our corn, our sunflowers, our sugar beets, and so on and so forth. And then our new trailer is the AgroLiner trailer here. This is something just a little bit bigger to give us slightly larger capacity. So that's it for the kind of the equipment. And then the vehicles, we have no combine. We just have these two tractors. So as before, we have our Deutz Fahrm AgroStar and we have our Same Fortis, but we have uprated it to a 190, so we now have 190 horsepower instead of 160. Again, more useful and more necessary because of the larger equipment we're going to be working with. So no combine. We're going to go down the route of leasing a combine for our first harvest, and then we may well purchase one next year, and hopefully we'll be purchasing the Deutz Fahrm combine. We'll just have to kind of see how our first year shakes out. Now we do have some field work that we need to get done. Quite a bit of field work actually. And we do have quite a nice selection of fields. So before we go any further, let's take a look at our new field lineup. So nothing has changed here. We still have 22, 23, 31. Over here we had 38 and 35. We've added field 39 as well because we're going to combine these two into a single field here. And down here at the farm, this is where most things have changed. We now have quite a nice selection of fields around the farm itself. So 60, 61, 62. These have all been added in. 68, 69, 70, 78, 77 and 76. So these two are going to get combined together. These are going to get combined together. These are all going to get combined together, and these two here we're going to get combined. So we're going to turn that into 4 fields around our farm essentially, and then we've got 86 down here. And the plan is that everything south of the centre line is going to be crop, at least this year. So this will be crop. Everything around here, this will all be crop, and then moving up north, these fields here around the pig farm, these will all be grass, and these fields here around the sheep farm, these will be grass as well. So I want to get the grass planted first. So we're going to make our way up to the top part of the map, and we're going to start ploughing and working those fields up there so that we can then plant grass seed and get that grass growing as quick as possible. Let's change my speed to match that of the traffic. There we go. So yeah, this episode we're going to basically just do as much sort of work on those top fields as we can. If we can get the planting done today as well, that'll be great. And then, because we're running a 9-day season, we have plenty of time, in theory. When you know, the next time out, we'll start working on our crop fields. We'll get those sort of up and running. But the grass I want to try and get up and running today, because if we can get that grown quickly enough, then there's a chance that we could get 2 cuttings off it before the weather turns too nasty. That's kind of a hope. I don't think we will actually have time for that. Unfortunately, I do believe that we are going to run out of time. It's going to take too long because we're going to be rather than the grass already being sort of there and just needing to grow, we're going to need to plant it, and it's going to need to germinate and then grow. So it's just going to extend that growing time too much, I think. But in future years, hopefully that will turn out to be quite nice for us. But here you can see we have field 35. What I might do, possibly, is I might leave this field as is, so that we at least have something that we can get started on early on. But this here, as you can see, this is field 39, and we're going to be joining that there with field 38 and turning this into a big single grass field as well. So let me drop this down. First of all, what I want to do is just kind of run around the border, get rid of this previous sort of crop heading here, whatever this was. I think it was potatoes, might have been beets, but I think it's potatoes. As I say, we're going to be combining there. So you can see as a gap between those 2 fields, we're going to plough that through and link these 2 fields together. And then this will become another grass field up here. I want us to have quite a few grass fields because Um, we're going to be doing quite a lot of silage baling. It'll give us a nice big injection of cash to expand our farm further. Getting new fields ready for next year. And that's essentially what we're going to be doing with our silage bales. That's another reason why I want to kind of have worked grass fields rather than just native grass fields, because we'll be able to double the yield, which means we'll be able to double the money that's on those fields. Right, so let's switch over to create fields and just drag this through and continue this line along here. I'm not worried about this being a perfectly straight field edge, because this, as I say, is going to be a grass paddock. And even going forward, once we do start looking at bringing in animals, it'll almost certainly remain a grass paddock there too, because it's right next to the sheep farm, so we're going to need a good source of food for our sheep that's close by. What better than to have a nice big grass paddock where we can make, you know, grass bales and hay bales. So let's just clean this line up along here. That tree is in the way, so I think we're going to have to get rid of that. I do have plans to remove quite a few trees, simply by just chopping them up with the Xylo Rabot. I have no intention of spending a long time cutting and grinding those trees for wood chips in year one. Just want to kind of get them out of the way so we can do what we need to do with our fields, get them in the position that we need them to be. And as you can see, that tree could be slightly better positioned, but it'll survive for now. Just link around the tree. There we go. Now again, we can just run this border along here, make sure that we have a nice clean edge, that the old crop isn't going to try and poke through. I have noticed in a little bit of testing on this map that certain fields the crop will stick on the edge even if you try and plough it. This is nothing new with mob maps. It does happen from time to time, and simply just running the create fields plough over the edge of it will obviously clear that up nicely. Well, let's join these two pieces together. Trying to stay central, and I can see it's going to be a struggle, so I'm going to break off and commit to one side like this, and then we'll go back down on the other side just to make sure that, you know, they're both going to get good coverage. You can see we're actually stretching a little bit away at the top here as well, so just make sure that we don't end up with any, you know, patch of dead land in the middle here where it should be actual workable dead, you know, combined land. And there we go. And that sun's coming out quite nicely now. There are some areas of this map where when the sun comes up, especially first thing in the morning, where you get some absolutely stunning views, some really beautiful shots. This field in particular, sort of around here, you can actually see early in the morning, you can see the sun rising through those trees. You can actually physically see the sun, and the light that it spins out through here, just it creates a beautiful, beautiful shot. Hopefully we'll see that in the future. But obviously we had a bit of a wet start to the day today, so by the time the sun came out it was already way up in the sky, up there where we can't see it. So I'm going to carry on ploughing this field out, and then when we're done here we'll move over to the pig farm, and we'll attack fields 22, 23 and 31. As I say, for now I think I'm going to leave field 35 as is, just so that we'll have a field of grass that we'll be able to get started with a little bit earlier. But this much bigger field here, this will be planted grass. Okay, so this first section is done here. This is the original field 38. That's now all ploughed. So next up is to plough out field 39. And continue working this section here until all of this is done. And hopefully this won't take too long. So we're almost done with this first field now. You can see obviously all of this has been ploughed. We've just got a little bit here and then a tiny little bit at the other end where the field kind of stretches out a little bit again past the trees. And then this field is done. So it's taking us a good couple of hours to get this done. But it helps that we're now running a 4-meter working width rather than the 3 that we were using on Altenstein. It is going to obviously speed things up a little bit over working at 3 meters. But having said that, the fields are much larger than they are on Altenstein, so we do kind of need that extra working width. It kind of balances out. See the sun dancing through the trees here, all these shadows cutting across the field. I do love the visual effects of seasons. It really does change as the year goes on, not just in obviously the appearance of the trees and the bushes, but also the light as well. You know, we get it at different heights and angles at different times of year. It really does produce some wonderful kind of shots. So let's get this section here done. And then we can move over to the pig area and work on those fields up there as well. One thing I did find in our first season on Seasons in the Valley, obviously we're well into summer now, is that we kind of didn't have enough grass fields, which is why I'm looking at everything above the railway intersection being grass. It gives us a nice good amount of grass fields for us to work. Plus, because most of these grass fields we're having to plant, we're going to have to wait longer for these to actually be ready as well. So that's why I don't want to necessarily do rip up every single grass field and then replant it with grass, because otherwise everything's going to be ready at the same time. You know, our crops and our grass, it's all going to come through at one point. And because we're using the Wales geo, weather is going to be very, very important as well. Now, our grass, it will rot, as you know, if we leave it out. So we need to get that kind of done as quick as we can. But also, bales will rot if they're left out in the rain. And, well, this is Wales geo that we're using, so it's going to rain a lot. And so we're going to need to get our bales up and off the field very, very quickly indeed. Otherwise we could have some serious, serious problems. And of course, if it does rain, then there's a risk as well that we will have to wait and wait and wait for the ground and the crops to dry out before we can harvest them. Do we want to turn down here? Yes, I think we do. Actually, no, we didn't, but we can work it. We can get away with this. That's where we need to be. So we'll take this little route over here. You can see we've got these side fields here. There's the pig depot just there. And our field is, well, it's just there. You can see it, the one with the crop stubble on it. Plus, we also have these two fields here, 22 and 23, so we can jump onto these fields right here. Just avoid that there. I'm going to drop the plough, same as before, and I'm going to create the border. This also allows me to check whether or not we're going to have any issues with "you don't own this field." Hopefully that won't be an issue. But you can see that they do get quite close in places. And there we go, we're getting our first "you don't own this field" issue popping up, but it's still allowing us to plough, which is good. Still allowing us to create that edge. Oh, spoke too soon. There we go. Just back up a touch. It's not quite as unhelpful as it is on this map as it was on the Valley of the Old Farm. You know, we do have a little bit more tolerance when we get to the edge of a field that we don't own, but it still is going to cause us an issue if we're not careful. There we go, so we've got our top border there done. Let's do this side bit here. It's not a particularly big field over here, as you can see. You know, it's a very, very small little field. On its own, it's hardly worth putting crop on, really. But combined with 22, it does make it, you know, a nice long addition to the field there. Makes it a lot more worthwhile as a crop field. You can see there's a little bit of ploughed land there. That actually belongs to, I think, that house there. You know, we could theoretically, you know, claim that, but we're not going to. We'll leave that there, and if they want to put vegetables or something on there, then they are more than welcome to do so. We'll leave it as is. Let's do the back edge. And again, you've got to see, you see we've got a tree that could potentially be in the way. With the grass, it's not so much of an issue. With crop, it could become a bit more problematic. Let's switch on create fields. Just work our way around the tree. There we go. I'm just going to run, hopefully, in a nice straight line along here. It's not entirely a straight, smooth line because you can see the road bends. So we need to kind of follow that slightly as well. Otherwise we're giving up, you know, additional space that we could be using. But we run up to about there and try and straighten out. And then round the corner off. This is where it's going to get a bit tricky, so I'm going to turn off create fields. Try not to crash into someone's fence. And you can actually see, I just want to show you this, you can actually see here, this is where the field initially, when it was first created by the map maker, this is probably a grass field that they then planted crop over the top of. You can actually see this is planted grass just here, and then this is native grass. So that slightly sort of yellowy version of the green there indicates that this is actually a worked grass field. So that'll plough up just like that, as you can see. Gives us an extra little bit of width to this field that isn't initially visible. You can see it's going up there, getting chewed up, and we've got those little patches there which give us that little bit of extra working width. It's not a lot, but you know, we need to make sure that we obviously catch all of that when we're ploughing for the first time, so we are properly establishing our field border and making sure that everything that we are going to be planting on is ploughed. And we're going to turn back on create fields. There we go. I'm just going to round that a little bit if I can. There we go. Oops, I meant to lift that. There we go. So let's get this little strip done just here. Turned off by mistake. Let's turn that back on again. There we go. And we have a new joined field. So I'm going to run widthways on this one across here. Just going to hire a worker just to make sure that the create fields is turned off. There we go, because I didn't want to have to mess around with opening the help menu just to check that. So that's a quick and easy way if you do have the allow create field switched on and you want to make sure it's definitely switched off. Hire a worker, because a worker cannot create fields, they can only work existing fields. And that way if you have still got it turned on, it'll instantly turn it off, so you don't end up accidentally just chewing up land that you had no intention of doing so. Oh, it's a lovely little scene that, isn't it, with the trees in the back garden and the sunlight poking through. You can see the smoke coming out the cottage chimney just there, or the house chimney. A guy with a hot tub and trampoline, a nice little gazebo in the backyard there, fire pit as well. Certainly one of the much nicer houses in Gorale. There are a few sort of run-down buildings. That is definitely not one of them. There we go. Right. Lift this back up. Start again at this end of the field, and we're going to run down and just finish this off. Shouldn't take us too long to get this field done, and then we'll move inside the pig farm over there and we'll attack the field behind the big pig building. As you can see, we've already completed the sideways section of the field, so we're just running this little bit up and down here now. This won't take very long to do at all, and then as soon as we've done this we can move inside our pig farm and we can attack field 31. And there we go. That is the end of the field. We are done. So let's lift our plough, let's drive off the edge here. We're going to need to cut through the farm. So let's get the gate open. There we go. Cut through just here. I've actually come the wrong way. Head around the slurry and manure section, and here we go. This is where we need to be. So this is the next field that we're going to work. So I'm going to start at this side. I'm going to work my way around the edge. Again, we're going to draw the border just to make sure that we know where our limit is, and also to check to see whether or not any crop is going to continue to grow through in areas where it shouldn't. And if that's the case, then obviously we can then use the create fields function of the plough to rip that up. We should hopefully be alright. A little patch of grass on the corner here you can just see as well. There we go. You can just see little thin pieces of grass of the original sort of design poking through underneath. These really long shadows here, making it a little bit tricky to see in some places. You can see the sun is absolutely glorious from certain angles, the way it casts that light. And here you can see we are having a few problems on that corner, so we'll have to get in there and attack that. Let's just finish cleaning this edge up first. There we go. Right, so let's go back and clean those edges where we need to. It's going to be down here. We've got to be careful because we're quite close to the field, so we could end up with a bit of an issue where it won't let us actually plough the field together. Hopefully that's not going to be the case, but you never know. Let's see if we can just overlap it nicely. Oh, look at that, beautiful. So let's turn off create fields. And let's start ploughing up this field here. Oh, it's telling us we don't own the field. It's not liking us in that direction. We should be okay going the other way around. So we'll tag that when we turn around and come back the other way. So this is the last of the fields up here that we need to kind of work to turn into a grass field. As I say, we do have that one grass field over by the sheep that we've kind of left alone. I do want a field that's going to have native grass, just so we can get some of the mowing out of the way in the summer when we're waiting for the crops to grow. Because this grass is going to take a lot longer to grow, because it's having to grow from scratch rather than just grow back a little bit. And there we go. So our problem corner is a problem no more. Let's carry on ploughing this field, and as soon as we're done with this, we can then go grab the seeder and we can actually start planting. You can see we've got just a little patch there in the middle of the field where there's nothing there at all. So again, I'm just going to turn on create field, and there we go, problem solved. Just this final strip here, and then this field is done and we have finished our ploughing for our grass fields. We can then grab our seeder and start planting the grass that will live here over this year. Hopefully some of this will stick around for next year as well, but we may repurpose some of these fields next year. We'll see how we get on as to whether or not we add animals. If we add pigs, then I may repurpose this into a crop field. Don't know whether I'm going to add pigs this year or not, or next year. I am thinking it would be quite a nice change to do pigs as our first crop. We do, our first animal. We do generally tend to go with cows or sheep as our first animals, so it might be quite nice to do pigs first this time. Let's make our way back over to the yard, get everything cleaned up, grab the cockling jockey, and start putting some grass down on these fields. We are arriving back at the farm. So we've got our wash plant just around the corner with that pressure washer. Oh, no, we don't actually have a pressure washer. I was thinking I'd installed a pressure washer, but I haven't. We're going to put the pressure washer in. Let's... Whoops. Let's do that now. So I kind of want it to be here on this corner. I figure we've got a lot of space over here where we're not doing anything, so this would be a good area, I think, to drop in a pressure washer. Try and make sure it's straight. Yeah, that'll do. Grab that. It's entirely possible that placing that there is going to come back and bite me on the backside in the future when it comes to turning around corners and so on and so forth, but I think it should be okay just there. It's clean. Let's clean the tractor as well, because that's absolutely caked in mud, as you can see. Alright, let's get all of it. And let's put this back in the shed. Go. So I need the jockey. That's going to be in this one, I think. Let's just close this door here. Yeah, there it is. There's the jockey. Now we don't have seed at the farm just yet. I'm just going to grab a pallet of seed from the store, and hopefully that'll be all we'll need. I'm also thinking I'm going to move these out of here because they're just really squashed up against each other at the moment, and I don't think it's going to work as a long-term solution. So I think we'll transfer the seeders into the empty shed just there in front of us there. We can always move our pallets somewhere else. So let's change our seed type to grass. There we go. And our beacons on. And make our way over to the store. So yeah, you can see that we do actually have a forklift here. There is a reason for that. And I'm not selling this, I'm just turning around to make it easier to drive in and out. There we go. Let's open the cover. There we go. This is what we're going to be using, that seeder there, to load our pallets. That's the wrong box, that's the one I want. I need a pallet of seed, €900. But we're also going to use it to actually fill our seeder as well. So normally this is what we'll be using here at the store. I thought there was something there, that's just a bucket. We'll be using this, leaving it here at the store so that we can load up pallets onto our Lizard BD frame, and then we can use the front loader attachment on our tractor when we get back. Although Yeah, depending on where we end up storing these pallets now means I might possibly end up getting one of these for the farm as well. There we go. That's our seed loaded in. 1,000 litres should hopefully be enough. We only have a few grass fields to do, so there's no point overfilling the seeder. Roll the cover back. And let's see, where are we? Okay, so we need to go right. Let's go planting. Excellent. So this is the native grass field that we're leaving as is. And then just behind that will be our newly ploughed field, just there. Excellent stuff. Right. Lower, let's turn on. And let's start seeding grass on this field. This field's coming along very nicely indeed. It's nice to have a 6 metre working width when it comes to planting. It's making the job a lot quicker than when we had that little 3 metre Lemken Azure it on Altenstein. I mean, I love that little seeder. It was a great little seeder, but again, we're working with bigger fields. We need that bigger sort of working width, and 3 meters would have taken us forever to get stuff done. So 6 meters, I think, is a nice compromise. It's a good size. It's not too big. It still has that small seeder feel in a sense, because the fields are much bigger than they were on Altenstein. And of course, eventually we will move up to sort of 9 meters and above as we start to bring in larger equipment as the farm continues to grow. But right now, this is kind of pretty much all we need. We don't need to have anything too much bigger than this. It's doing a very nice job for us indeed. Tag this piece on the corner. There we go. And it's just this little interior section left to do now. Okay, just this tiny strip to go, and then this field is done. We can head back over to the pig farm again and do fields 22, 23 and field 31. There we go. Right, let's get folded up. Let's take a little drive through the countryside. It's a real sort of warren of little side roads around here. That one is actually the one we want, just there. And this is the other side of field 35 there, our natural grass field. Okay, let's go straight on from here. This will take us back to the main road. Way looks clear, so let's pull out. We're going to go in a different way around to the field here. We've used up, ooh, what, 360 odd litres of seed, so I'm starting to wonder whether or not we're going to have enough to do the other two fields. I think we should be okay, but it might be a little bit tight. We might possibly run out. We are running out of daylight as well, as you can see, already 10 to 5. This is going to be, our day one achievement, is getting our grass fields sort of in place and sown. And then we'll start working on the crop fields tomorrow. As I say, we are running a 9-day season rather than 6 days, as we are on our other two maps. So it does give us a little bit more time. There we go. And once again, I'm going to do a border around the edge of this, just so we don't accidentally trespass and plant on a different field that we don't own. There we go. Now if I just straighten up and run in a straight line, we'll catch everything left on this side. Do the same on the opposite side. Again, I want to make sure I want to leave that little strip of land there that someone's using as an allotment for vegetables. Don't want to plant over that. That would be a little bit rude of me. It's going to be a bit tight. Yeah, we just missed. You can just see a little dark patch there. Just missed that edge on the corner. There we go. That's that taken care of. Drifting slightly. Straighten up again. There we go. And again, we're going to have to step in a little bit, but not too much. As we move along this side. Careful not to tag that field there. Just lift to make the turn. There we go. And there we go, there's our border. So now we can start planting the interior of this field. And then we just have one more to go after this. Just missed a little thin strip just there. Let's correct that. There we go. And that is pretty much it. Just got one last field to go. Time is running short. We're down to 5:30. We've still got 430 odd litres of seed, so I think we'll be alright. I don't think we're going to run out. So once again, we'll need to cut through the pig farm. I left the gate open because I knew we'd... Oh, no, I didn't leave the gate open, did I? I closed it. I thought I'd left that open. Oh, we'll close that again on the way back out. We'll leave it open until then. And again, I'm going to do my border just so we don't have any issues accidentally planting on a field we don't own. So let's start up here. This is where it's going to be quite tricky because it's a really short little run, as you can see, between the fields. So got to be very careful here. We'll definitely be looking to add that field to our collection in the future. We've got a bit more tolerance around here, as you can see, a bit more of a gap between the fields. But we do have that issue on this edge where if we're not careful it won't allow us to actually plant, so I need to be very careful around here. Make sure that we do get proper coverage. And so far seems to be all good. Excellent. There we go, there's our seed border done. So now it's just time to plant the interior of the field. And then we'll be heading home and packing up for the day. For the last hour or so I've had two very old songs just rattling around in my head. I think I know why. The first one is Billy Don't Be a Hero. And the second one is The Night Chicago Died. I know one of them's by Paper Lace. I forget which one. I think it's Billy Don't Be a Hero is by Paper Lace. I might be wrong. It might be the other one. It might be The Night Chicago Died. But I've had these songs just rattling around in my head for the last hour. And I've just been singing them along in my head and trying to figure out initially why they just suddenly popped in there, and I think I've kind of figured it out. I've been watching Homeland again, and I think that's what triggered Billy Don't Be a Hero, because of Brody. And The Night Chicago Died was just another song that I grew up listening to alongside Billy Don't Be a Hero. They were both part of my dad's record collection. So I think that's the reason those two songs have been rattling around in my head for so long. But yeah, it's kind of bizarre sometimes. A song will just pop in your head. It takes you a little while to figure out where it suddenly just popped in from, why it popped in. But yeah, I can't remember all the lyrics, but I can remember most of the lyrics to both of those songs. And it's kind of driving me crazy that I can't remember the rest of them. So we are done for the day. We finished planting our grass. It's starting to get a little bit late in the day as well. You can see it's now 6:15. We've got this equipment to sort of take back, clean and put away again. So I'm going to get that done, and then I'm going to go and look up those songs on YouTube and kind of get those lyrics properly into my head so I can then get them out of my head again. And I will be back with another episode of Deutz Fahrm here on Gorale with Seasons very soon.